We have so far learned the CMA form number 1, which is a statement furnishing the details of the existing and proposed credit facilities the company enjoys and needs from the banking system. CMA form number 2, which is called the operating statement, the reclassification of various items of the profit and loss account statement, which enables the banker understand whether the activity standalone is viable or not, and the profit that is generated is sufficient enough to service the debt, which includes the interest and the installments. And form number 3, which is called as balance sheet spread, reclassification of various items of the balance sheet. The equity and liability side is divided into current liability, term liability, and net worths. And the asset side is divided into current asset, fixed assets, non-current assets, and intangible assets. And while classifying various items of the balance sheet, we take care of the definition that is required. Say, for example, in the case of a current assets, whether it satisfies the two conditions. Then we make the balance sheet analysis and arrive at ratios like current ratio, net working capital, debt to TNW, TOL to TNW, etc. Moving forward, we use the CMA form number 4, the comparative statement of current assets and current liabilities, to calculate the various holding periods. Holding periods of raw material, semi-finished goods, finished goods, the credit period extended on sales, and the credit period available on purchases, and take a decision whether the current assets projected and the other current liabilities projected are acceptable to the bank or not. Having done so, now today we will move to the CMA form number 5, which is called as computation of maximum permissible bank finance. We are aware that this method was introduced in the banking system in 1974 based on a recommendation given by a committee headed by Mr. P.L. Tandon. The banks were first nationalized in 1969. Before nationalization, all banks were doing what is called a security-based lending. Now, the RBI, subsequent to nationalization of the banks, thought it necessary to have a uniform method of working capital assessment which should be based on purpose oriented. For this purpose, the Tandon Committee was constituted and the committee gave its recommendation in 1974. Some of the recommendations were accepted by the Reserve Bank of India. One recommendation which the RBI gave was the working capital finance extended by bank to industry should be in tune with the actual operations of the company, and it should be purpose oriented. That is, the activity for which the finance is given, we should understand as a banker what is the purpose for which it is given, whether that will result in some economic growth. The second one is said that the starting point should be the current assets. That is, the gross working capital requirement of an industry is equal to the minimum current asset the company has to carry at any point of time. Tandon Committee suggested that out of the gross working capital, a portion of the working capital that is required should be funded by way of margin. That is, the promoter should bring in a minimum margin that is necessary. He also said that the bank's working capital finance should be the residual after meeting all liabilities, which means that the other current liability is also recognized as one of the sources. So the bank should fund only the residual portion. Residual portion means from the gross working capital, deduct the margin, whatever may be the balance available, and deduct the other current liabilities, which is also a source for meeting the working capital. Only the residual portion should be funded by the banks. At that time, he has also prescribed some holding periods for different types of industries, based on the industries in those days, which is since now not in operation, because the things have changed. The types of industries have undergone a lot of change during the last 40-45 years. So what we do is we compare the holding period or the credit period extended or the credit period available on purchases with the actual past of the same company, and also compare with the peer industries if they are available, and then take a decision as to whether the investment proposed in the current assets and the estimated the other current liabilities are in tune. So let us now do how to do the computation of MBBF. The Tandem Committee came out with the three methods. They are called as MBBF method 1, MBBF method 2, and MBBF method 3. The third method, MBBF method 3, the recommendation has not been accepted RBI. So left alone, now we have only two methods, method 1 and method 2. Let us understand the method 1 and method 2. There is absolutely no difference between method 1 and method 2 except in case of minimum margin to be brought in. In case of method 1, it is 25% of the working capital gap. In method 2, it is 25% of the total current assets. So naturally in method 2, the margin to be brought in by the company is high. As a result, the working capital finance extended will be less. But in the case of method 1, the margin to be brought in is less. Naturally, the working capital finance to be extended is more. That is how the MBBF works out. Let us understand this mechanism. First, let us go to the MBBF method 1. The starting point is the total current assets less other current liabilities. What you get is working capital gap. Now come back here. When I say current assets, we have classified the various items of the balance sheet in the current assets. As we know, two conditions need to be satisfied. One, the asset should be a part of the working capital cycle. Number two, it should be convertible into cash in the next 12 months. So anything which doesn't satisfy any of these conditions will have to move to non-current assets. So we'll take the current assets and other current liabilities. I am adding one line, excluding bank borrowing. Here you should be very careful, because in the balance sheet analysis when we do it on the current liability, there are two things. First one is the short-term borrowing from the bank, which is nothing but the working capital, which is what we are trying to find out here. And there is one more item, the current maturity of term loan. Because we know that the balance outstanding in the term loan account, if it is given to the company, is taken and split into two. What is to be paid in the next 12 months appear as a current maturity of the term loan, and what is to be paid after 12 months appear here as a term liability. So while taking OCL, you should not take both of these. There are two things which need to be removed in the other currently. Excluding bank borrowing means, one, what we are going to arrive at, that is the working capital finance or the MBBF. The second one is the current maturity of the term loan, because the term loan installment payable in the next 12 months is not a source for funding the current assets. So the end result will be, we know, working capital gap. This is what is required as an investment, but this is what is to be paid afterwards. So I am deducting that. So the funding should be based on this working capital gap. Now in the method 1, the customer will have to bring in a minimum margin, which is stipulated as 25% of the working capital gap. Now suppose my total current asset is 200 and this is 20, my gap is 180 and I am supposed to bring 25% of this, that comes to 45. Now I am eligible for 135. But sometimes the company brings in a margin which is greater than the minimum margin. The reason is to reduce their borrowing, which in turn will reduce the cost of borrowing and increase the profitability. Suppose he is bringing 50. So now 180 minus 45, 135, 180 minus 50, 130. And MBBF will be lower of these two. Why lower of these two? He need bring only 45. I would have given him 135, but since he brings 50, I will give him only 130. Let us mark this as 1, mark this as 2, mark this as 3, mark this as 4, mark this as 5, mark this as 3 minus 4, mark this as 3 minus 5, let it be 6, let it be 7. So, MPBF will be lower of 6 or 7, which is equal to 130. This is how the method 1 MBBF works out. So it starts with the total current assets, then less other current liabilities excluding bank borrowing. The one is we are removing this. Second one is current maturity of the term loan. Arrive with the working capital gap. Then minimum margin is 25% of the working capital gap. Then actual margin or projected margin. Then from 3 minus 4, 135. 3 minus 5, 130. Market as 6 or 7. The lower the two will be the MBBF. Now let us move on to the method 2. When we move to the method 2 also, up to the working capital gap, absolutely there is no change. We take the total current assets, deduct the current liabilities excluding bank borrowings. So we will take into account the trade payables, any advances received, sundry creditors, outstanding expenses, etc. What we leave is, one is short-term borrowing from the bank, number 1. That is what we are arriving at here. Second is the current maturity of the term loan. These two things we will remove it and then take the OCL. Now here in this case, the minimum margin to be brought in is 25% of the total current assets, which means it is 25% of this, that comes to 50. Now let us see the actual margin or the projected margin. Suppose he is ready to bring in 60. Naturally, mark this as 4, mark this as 5. Then 3 minus 4, that is 130. Mark it as 6. And 3 minus 5, that is mark it as this. MPBF will be lower of 6 or 7, which is equal to 120. I think you have understood the method 1 and method 2. There are cases where the actual margin may be the same as the projected margin, but he has to bring in a minimum margin of 50 in this case and a minimum margin of 25% of the working capital gap in the method 1. If it doesn't bring, we will say that you have to increase the capital or bring in some long-term sources which can be called as a quasi-equity, retainable in the business during the currency of our advance. Now, we have a case where there is a export finance. That is, the company is selling in the domestic market as well as in the export market. Now I have a total current asset, say it is 200. Out of the 200, the export receivables is say 40. Now I have the TCA. Suppose the OCL continues to be 20. My working capital gap is 180. I am going by the method 2. Now, what is the minimum margin to be brought in? It is 25% of TCA excluding export receivables, which means 200 minus 40 into 25%. Now it is 160, 80, 40. Suppose he also brings in same projected or actual margin. Say he also brings 40 only. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 minus 4 is equal to 146. 3 minus 5 is 147. MPBF is lower of 6 or 7. So in this case it will be 140. Suppose he brings say 50 here. So 180 minus 50 it will be 130. So naturally he will be getting. So in case of export receivables, more margin is required to be brought in, because this is mainly for the purpose of giving an incentive to the exporter so that more forex inflow takes place, which will be sufficient enough to beat the import bill. The same is the case in case of, yes, I am going by the method 1. And let us see. Method 1 we are using it. Now, here it is 25% of the working capital gap, excluding this. So, I will reduce 180 minus 40 into 25%. So, 140, 70, 35. That will be 4. Suppose the projected or the actual or projected margin is also 35. Mark it as 5. So 3 minus 4 is equal to 145. Mark it as 6. And 3 minus 5 is also equal to 145. Mark it as 7. My MPBF will be lower of 6 or 7. So in this case, the MPBF will be 145. Now suppose the customer is bringing here 40. 180 minus 40 will be 140. So naturally, the MPBF will be 140. Here again, while calculating the minimum margin, we exclude the export receivables. That is how it is done. The method number 3 is not used. So the only difference between method 1 and method 2 is in the minimum margin to be brought in. In the method 1, it is 25% of the working capital gap. In method 2, it is 25% of the total current assets. Now you look here, there are two things. In the total current assets, we are satisfied as to how to project the total current assets. I have taken precautions by way of calculating the holding periods, credit period extended on sales and credit period available on purchases. Now look at the other current liabilities. We should say whether the trade creditors or the trade payables are comparable with the number of days or number of months compared to the previous year. Now, the margin to be brought in. Let us take a case where the minimum margin to be brought in. How do we know that? The main thing which need to understand is the capability and the source from there the margin is coming. It's very important because the customer may project a source telling that the profit generated will be retained in the business. See, one thing he can say is that the profit will take care of the margin that is required for the enhanced limit. So let us take a case where I'll just give you a case. Now you see there are two cases. TCA, this is actual, this is the projection. 200, he says 300, less OCL it was 20, it is 30. Now the working capital gap is 180, it is 270. Let us think of method 2. That is method 2. Minimum margin 25% of the TCA, 50. Here it is 75. I assume that the projected or the actual margin is same. I am projecting the same. So I have the MBBF 130. Here it is 195. Now you look here. We are satisfied with this. We are satisfied with this. But we should understand that he is capable of bringing the additional margin for the enhanced limit. Then only I will be able to release the extra working capital finance of 65. Now the question is, one source he may say is that he doesn't want to bring any additional funds from outside. It can very well be retained in the profit margin. In this case, what we have to do is go to the form number 2, find out the operating profit before interest as a percentage to the total income from operations. Suppose the actual last year was only 5% and now he projects that it will be 7% or say 10%, I will not accept this. That is number 1. Number 2, out of the net profit, what is the percentage of net profit retained in the business? That is the second thing. That also we have to find out. If we do not compare the projected profit or surplus and compare that with the same actuals, then we may go wrong because the customer may not be bringing in additional margin. Second one, the source could be, he may say that I am not going to bring in additional capital. Instead of that, I will be raising some unsecured loans or I will raise some debentures. Now look here, if it is an unsecured loan, we must ensure that this money is not withdrawn during the currency of our advance. So a stamped undertaking or documents need to be executed by the company to this effect, and we should monitor to ensure that the money has not withdrawn. It is there in the balance sheet in the company. Second one is there any interest payable on this? If there is an interest to be paid, whether he has made the provision in the operating statement. That is second thing. Third one, the same thing application in the case of debentures also. In the debenture also he has to pay interest. Whether there is sufficient cushion available. This can be done by calculating interest service coverage ratio. How do we do that interest service coverage ratio? Is operating profit before depreciation, interest and taxes divided by total interest. We expect them to be at least 1.5 times, 1.5 is to 1. Anything less than that indicates that there could be a situation where they are unable to pay the interest. And if it is an unsecured loan and debenture as a source, ensure that you take an auditor certificate that the company has complied with this requirement. Even this can be done in case of an additional capital also. That is necessary. With this, I think that I have explained you CMA form number 5, which is based on a tandem committee recommendation implemented in the banking system in 1974, because the RBI wanted a shift from the security-oriented lending to the purpose-oriented lending, for which RBI said that the committee has to suggest a uniform method of working capital assessment method. It is known as the MBBA method. There are two methods, MBBA method 1 and method 2. In the method 1, it is 25% of the working capital gap is the minimum margin. In method 2, it is 25% of the total current asset is the minimum margin. That is the basic difference. Second thing is that in case of an export receivables, whether the company is engaged in export finance, for the trade receivables outstanding for the export part, there is no need to bring in margin. So you exclude that. while calculating the minimum margin that is required. And wherever the company is capable of bringing in more margin than the minimum margin, the additional margin will be deducted for the purpose of arriving at the working capital finance. And whenever the current assets are given, we must always understand the two things. We have given here as 20, 30, 180, 270, 180, that 50, 75, 130, 195. Now, if you look at the current ratio, you will see that the current ratio is equal to 200 divided by 150. It will be 1.33:1. Herein, if you take it 300 by 195 plus this one, 225, 1.33:1. This 150 I got it because this is other current liability, this is bank borrowing, other current liability, bank borrowing. This is the long-term source of funds for that. Now, not only that, we must understand the current ratio. Whenever we look at the current ratio, we should also look at the net working capital. Here the net working capital keeps on increasing from 50 to 75, or it is a current assets minus current liability, 50 LTS or LTU 75. See, sometimes what happens is the current ratio is found to be increasing, whereas the NWC will be declining, which indicates that there is a diversion of fund. So whenever we do an assessment doing MBBM method, we need to understand what is the current ratio. And the current ratio, what is the, wherever the current ratio shows an improvement, where the NWC keeps on increasing. If the NWC keeps on decreasing and the current ratio is increasing, it is an indication that there could be a diversion of fund. Diversion of fund means from the short-term sources to long-term uses. That is number one. The second thing which we need to understand always is we must know the components of the current assets. Suppose in the 200, the cash is 20 and the inventory is 100 and the trade receivables is 100, 120, 80. When it moves to the 300, suppose the cash is 10, inventory is say 210, say inventory is say 80, and the trade receivables 90 at 210, 290, 300. Now look here, in both the cases, you will get a current ratio of 1.33:1. Because your current asset is this, and the current liability is 150. Here the current liability will be 150. Here the current liability will be 30 plus 225. You get a current ratio 1.33:1. But look at the position, when you look at the components, here the cash is declining, inventory is declining, the time given to the customers to pay, it keeps on increasing. It is a very dangerous signal. That means there is a depletion in the stock, there is a depletion in the cash, and the entire current asset is getting converted into trade receivables, and the company's efficiency in collecting the debt is coming down. So it is a wrong signal. So what we need to understand whenever we do the MBBF, one, we must understand the current ratio. We must also understand whether the NWC is moving upwards while the current ratio pushes up. Second thing is the components of current assets, that also is to be understood. That is a second thing. And the third one is, whenever we are doing this, what is the percentage of bank borrowing? What is the percentage of OCL? That is to be found out. Say for example, in this case, the bank borrowing is 130 by 200. And here it is 195 by 300. And OCL here is 20 by 200. Here it is 30 by 300. And the margin, percentage of margin is, here it is 50 by 200. Here it is 75 by 200. Now, here everything is fine because this comes to 25%. This is also 25%. This is a 10%. Here again 10%, so 35. Here it comes to 65%. Here comes to 65%. Here in this example, you will see the bank borrowing is 65% of the total current assets. Here again projection is also 65. Here the OCL is 10%. Same the projection also. And the margin is 25%, 25%. But sometimes what happens, when you analyze it, you will see this goes up, say to 75%, and this comes down to 0%. Or this remains at 10%, this comes down to 15%. This fact has to be looked into. That is whether there is any reduction in the OCL percent and the banker is increasing the working capital borrow. This is the third thing which we need to understand when we are computing an MBBF. I hope you have understood this, and in case you are satisfied and liked it, press the like button and subscribe to this channel. The next class we will come out with a new topic which may be a fund flow statement.